Hey everyone, what's up? I'm glad to welcome you back to my channel. Today we have something special, a whole series of videos dedicated to the hackathon from Espresso Network. I just happened to stumble upon DoraHux. I'll definitely leave all the links in the description. Let's get down to business. So I decided to take part in this hackathon and also record a mini developer vlog. Let's see what comes of this. Personally, I just want to enjoy research and writing code. Overall, let's take a look at what this consists of and what we're actually going to do. So here's the website, where the whole hackathon will take place. As you can see, the prize pool is very delicious. The hackathon starts on March 10th. So there are actually two main tracks here. This is about launching your own, roll up your own so-called, a second layer blockchain known as L2, and the creation and development of applications already on existing L2s. So let's first take a look at what it actually is. Espresso Network. Basically, Espresso Network is a confirmation layer. It's an infrastructure for blockchains and L2 solutions. Let's consider a simple analogy of how espresso works. Let's imagine a world similar to ours, where there's some kind of central bank, an international bank, and there are online stores that work with that bank, issuing and sending invoices. And there are also users who want to shop and buy products through online stores. And let's take a closer look at what each entity represents. We have a bank, and all the stores have to submit their reports. Ultimately, it all goes to this bank. This bank can't really exist without any online stores. Our bank essentially represents a complex mechanism with a high level of security. Also, to use this bank, transactions. Usually, some reports, transactions are sent in batches and are processed every 12 seconds. And lastly, transaction processing fees are really high because of the low throughput. We also have online stores. Each store serves its own users. Each store has its own internal order processing system, different from central bank. Also, each store in our world has its own manager. Finally, each of our stores has its own storage. This storage is somehow maintained, and all the solutions are different from one another. So each store will create their own managers, train them, and set up their own storage where all these orders will be kept. Let's imagine a situation where a user decides to order coffee through our store, and the manager, accordingly, handles this. The order is processed and returns to our user, to our client. The so-called soft confirmation. Soft confirmation, some coupon. Not a guarantee that the order has been sent. Our manager tells the client to wait 15 minutes to receive the receipt. As mentioned earlier, each store has its own system. Order processing, they sort and store the orders in their own way, keeping them archived. And only when the manager has gathered the necessary number of orders, somehow in some order, as he sees fit, sorted our orders and packed them into a box and sent them to the bank for confirmation. Our bank processes each transaction in 15 minutes because it works according to the following scheme. To get the finalization for some operation, you need to go through 2 epochs. Each epoch takes 32 certain blocks, and each block takes 12 seconds. Accordingly, there are also additional costs there, so it takes 15 minutes to confirm one transaction. And only after that can the manager give. Our user gets a receipt, confirming the success of the transaction, that his coffee will be delivered, and the whole process is set in motion. Looking at this, it's clear that our system isn't perfect, so that the user can be 100% sure that his operation arrived. Successfully confirmed, you need to wait 15 minutes. Because of this, we lose some user experience and we need to solve this problem somehow. To solve this problem, Espresso comes into play, which it acts as a sort of payment layer between the bank and our stores. It's also worth noting that Espresso has its own independent managers, its own independent ones. Some archives where orders can be stored. And in order for any store to open, it is not necessary to hire managers. It is not necessary to open their own storage to keep these orders in some form. All of this work is handled by Espresso. Let's take a look at how our system will work now. The user also wants to order coffee. And instead of waiting 15 minutes, as it was in the previous one, in this case, the user will only wait a couple of seconds. How does this happen? Our store hands over the order to independent managers who then they give him a check about success and a guarantee. Transaction. The store hands this receipt over to the user. After this, the manager takes over all the work to confirm the finalization of transactions. They also store all orders in their warehouses and send legal obligations that everything went smoothly. As you probably guessed, this analogy was about blockchains. Instead of the central bank, we have Ethereum acting as layer 1. Instead of stores, we have our L2 blockchains. In this example, it's Arbitrum and Optimism. And Espresso, instead of managers and archives, has its own distribution network of sequencers. Espresso also provides its layer by data availability, so that any second-tier blockchain can use decentralized for storing transactions instead of their own solutions, which might not be perfect in some cases. It's also worth clarifying that Espresso Network is not a competitor for some L2 blockchains. This is an infrastructure layer, a confirmation layer that enhances the performance of L2 blockchains. You could say that Espresso Network is like a layer. So what do we need to do at the hackathon? I'm going to follow the analogy with our example. To build an L2 blockchain that will be connected to Espresso in the test network and try to create some kind of application. I still haven't figured out what this application will be, but it will directly use this network as a cross-chain platform. Thank you all for watching. I hope you learned something interesting for yourself. Let's participate together in the hackathon. I'll leave all the links in the description, or at least you can cheer for me. In the next video, I will try to raise L2. Roll-up on some AWS server. Discuss the details of my future application. Subscribe to the channel, give it a thumbs up, and see you later.